All right. Thank you, Dustin. Dustin Ulmer is our IT whiz, our web whiz, our everything technology whiz, and he just gave us the thumbs up that we are ready to start our webinar today on soy innovation. So glad to have you with us here today. And on behalf of Upper Great Plains Transportation Institute, North Dakota Local Technical Assistance Program, and in partnership with the North Dakota Soybean Council, it's my privilege to be with you today. My name is Dale Hegland, part of the UGPTI team. And again, so very happy that you're here with us. What we want to share is how soybeans are impacting the world. And my son-in-law, Mike Langseth, who is on the North Dakota Soybean Council, he often likes to share where soybeans are making an impact. Now worldwide, we know that they're a food commodity for animals, for us, but where else? In the cushions for our carpeting, for our couches, things like that. I have, instead of WD-40, I'd like to use a soy-based lubricant. They're everywhere. There's soy turf, products that we can use. So embellishing a little bit upon his enthusiasm, the North Dakota Soybean Council's enthusiasm, our farmers, producers in North Dakota in the region, embellishing on that a little bit, or maybe a lot. Let's start today off with how soybeans are saving the world. Okay, maybe not saving the world, but in the transportation end, let's look at a few factors of what soybean products, where soybean products can help us. Let's take a look at three aspects. Dust control. We've got gravel roads. How can we reduce the amount of dust, improve the safety of the roadway? Biodiesel. How can we improve the fleet, the equipment, fuel utilization, and produce fewer harmful emissions? And then third, let's take a look at North Dakota bridges or bridges around the country. How are we doing? How can soybeans, again, help save the world, or at least some aspects of the transportation world? So that's what we're here for today. And some cool news, is the North Dakota Soybean Council is out and about, and they're out and about North Dakota and all over the world trying to make sure that we really utilize and make our planet better through soybeans. Susie Soybean, that mascot, the caricature that's out at events, well, she's a little hiatus. With COVID, we just haven't been out and about, but Jenna and Stephanie tell me that she's soon to make a return. So keep a watch out. I don't know if there's gonna be a contest or how you'll get back to the Soybean Council, but we want to be watching for it. One addition that I think they're gonna make is adding a cape to Susie's soybean, her mascot, because now soybeans are saving the world, or at least they're helping the world. And in the transportation end. So we've got about 2 hours. Audience, if you would, this is going to be recorded. Man, please refer the recording on to others. Ask questions. In the Q&A section, you're able to type in comments, add questions, offer input. Please do that, because after each presentation, we're going to have time to quiz our subject matter experts and really tap in deep into their understanding of the product and how it might work in your world. So Q&A, do that. The recording, it'll be up shortly on the Soybean Council and the Upper Great Plains website. So glad you're here. My honor to be with you today. And our first topic in the transportation realm is on dust control. Exciting news is that a few years ago in 2014, 2015, Jim started producing a unique soy-based product. We've got 60,000 miles of gravel road in North Dakota. It's about the same across the nation. The bulk of our transportation network is rural. The North Dakota DOT, by comparison, has just over 7,000 miles of paved concrete asphalt roadway. And on the local network in North Dakota, 60,000 miles of gravel road. Now, gravel roads, they're the poor man's asphalt, so to speak. And they've got issues because they're a lesser cost, but yet our expectation is that they perform at that high level. So how can we do better? By using a product like Jim's discovery, his invention, innovation, that he did in partnership with the North Dakota Soybean Council, we can reduce the dust. We can hold those fines, that glue that's holding the rock and sand together, keep that dust in the in the gravel, not in the air, not in the fields, not in the homes, not in our livestock, not in our lungs. And that's called gravel preservation. Gravel's a limited commodity. So using products like BioBlend, make sure that our gravel is more cost effective. Our network, that 60,000 miles of roadway in North Dakota, lasts longer and is safer for us. So with excitement, I want to share a North Dakota grown, sprouted right here at an NDSU lab by the inventor, Jim Barr. Jim, can you tell us a little bit about how you invented and where we're at with your dust suppressant material? Over to you, Jim.
All right. Thanks, Dale, and good morning. A little background on myself. I've been at NDSU now for 18 and a half years as a senior research engineer, working primarily on polymer and coatings, a lot of soybean related research in converting soybean to plastics and paints and elastomers, and also in some lab automation. And prior to NDSU, I was at TDA Research in Denver for 10 years after graduating from NDSU in mechanical engineering. So I've been doing research for quite a while and have worked on just hundreds of different projects. But today, I'm going to tell you the story of how we took lab research in soy-based dust control and developed it into a commercial product in about 7 years. So I'll talk about how this all started, our early lab work, our first road test, our scale up with a chemical toll manufacturer, and then bulk production with Archer Daniels Midland, and the 20+ road tests that we did last summer. And now we have a commercial partner that's working with us to produce this material and get it out to the consumer. And then also I'll talk a little bit about expanded areas of use beyond gravel roads. So how did we get started? So several years ago, prior to this, I worked on a lot of research projects that were led by other principal investigators, and large part of these were soy focused, and I would help them turn their lab scale soy product into gallons of material that they could share with other companies. So I learned quite a bit about them and how to make these materials and how to tailor them to get the desired properties. And about that time, there was a call for road dust research in the Bakken oil field. With all of the expanded drilling platforms and the gravel roads that were being put up and the huge amount of truck traffic, there was a big dust problem going on out there, and they wanted people to research that and see what the effect of the dust was and look for solutions there. And also at that time, I learned of glycerol glut. Glycerol is a byproduct from biodiesel production, and there's enormous amounts of glycerol generated as a waste product. And so if you can find something to do with that, you've got a cheap, ready supply of material. So based on what I had been doing in the soy research environments, I thought, well, maybe I can use glycerol to modify the soybean oil and make something that can be dispersed in water and used to help the dust problem out in the West. So I approached the North Dakota Soybean Council with a proposal, and they funded my first grant to start our work in the lab. At that time, we synthesized the material. I have a 10-liter reaction vessel. It's about 2.5 gallons. Made several batches in here, trying different ratios of catalysts and temperatures and soybeans, glycerol ratios, and so forth. This concentrate material would then be emulsified with water. It's about 75% water, but that can change depending on the application. And then we would treat trays of gravel. So there would be about 10 pounds of gravel. For this study, we used class 5 gravel, where we removed the larger aggregate. So we were focusing more on the fines and the dust generating components of that gravel. So each tray would have about 10 pounds of gravel that we treated with various treatments. We let them age for a while, and then we'd test them in this modified cement mixer. So essentially we sealed the opening and we pump in air through this blue line, as this tumbles, it's generating a cloud of dust from the treated sand. And then that dust cloud is swept out by the airflow, but it's trapped on this white filter cone. And then we weigh that filter cone before and after, and that tells us how much dust was generated. And this method worked really well for screening a lot of different application rates and formulas. Here's a video of our dust monitor in action. A little noisy. It's pretty clean until you open it up and change out the filter. The material itself it's not just a blend of soybean oil and glycerol, because soybean oil and glycerol don't mix. They're immiscible, kind of like water and oil. So the approach that we take is to use the glycerol in a chemical reaction to break down the soybean oil. Soybean oil is a triglyceride, so it has 3 of these long fatty chains. So what we do is break this apart into 3 subpieces so that we make a monoglyceride, a diglyceride, and then some of the oil remains as the triglyceride. But by forming these mono and diglycerides, they become the surfactants, the emulsifiers that allow the product to be dispersed in water. So essentially we're making our own emulsifier from the soybean oil itself, which is really what makes our product unique and allows us to be water dispersed without the additional costly emulsifiers. This is a test that we did in the lab to simulate rainy day road traffic and the ability of our soy product to bind those fine dust particles. So the bottle on the left is class 5 gravel that's treated with magnesium chloride, and the one on the right, of course, is treated with the soy product. And these are immersed in water. And when you agitate these, as a car would drive over a rainy gravel road, it's going to agitate the water into that soil. And what you'll see at the mag chloride treated section is that those fines aren't really trapped in. When they're wet, they're allowed to migrate and separate out. But with the soy product, these fines are trapped in place. And keeping the fines in place is important because that's what holds the integrity of the gravel together and keeps it from potholing and raveling. So in this video, you can see when agitated, how quickly the soy treated gravel will settle, showing you that those fine particles are now agglomerated into larger chunks. And on the left, the mag chloride sample has those fine particles dispersed. And when this puddle dries, it's going to have those fine clay particles separated out and on top of the road and no longer participating in firming of that gravel. So the Soybean Council was pleased with our work in year 1, and they funded us again to scale up and make enough material to do our first road test. So we utilized our 2.5 gallon reactors in our lab at NDSU. I have 2 of them. I made about 250 batches. That was 2 a day, or 2 each morning, 2 in the afternoon for about 4 months, making this concentrate. And then I emulsified it with water with this homemade setup that we have, and produced 1,100 gallons of emulsified product that we utilized for our first road test. And this road test was done on County Road 22 in Cass County. This is the Prosper Road. It's about 5 miles of gravel and a lot of truck traffic. There's a grain elevator down there. And this is a problem road for dust and stabilization. So Jason Benson from Cass County helped us coordinate this site. And actually, we treated the first 600 feet, and then the remainder of the road was treated with calcium chloride. So it was a really good comparison study for us that summer to see how we compared against the standard of calcium chloride. And one promising thing you can see from the photo is that after 8 days, so this is application day, after 8 days and 2 inches of rainfall, you can clearly see the outline of where our product was put down. And this shows that the rainwater didn't wash this away or cause it to migrate to the shoulder. It stayed in place once it was put down and cured. In contrary, This is the section of that road that was treated with calcium chloride. This is a Google image. It shows this field access point right here. Here's an actual photo of it. And what you can see, the dampness is the calcium chloride puddling and pulling moisture from the air, which is how it works to control dust. But you can see where it has run off into the cornfield. So that's one thing that sets our product apart from the chlorides, is that we stay intact on the road surface. We're not water soluble, and it doesn't run off into the groundwater or damage adjacent cropland. So we needed a way to test our dust control and see how well it was controlling the dust. And we built this apparatus. This was actually, the idea was borrowed from Penn State. And it basically consists of a vacuum cleaner that mounts on the back of a pickup truck. And it draws in the dust cloud through these two ports as you're driving down the road. And inside there is a laser detection cell that gives us the total amount of dust per cubic meter of air. So this is a real-time dust measurement. So we can simply drive this down the gravel from treated section to untreated section and see what the difference in dust generation is. This is what the data looks like from one of those tests. So on the lower left side, you can see the graph values are 0, because at this point, the pickup is not moving and I'm standing in the back, getting the dust meter started, and then I run in the front and I start driving, and then you can see the dust clouds start to pick up. So I drove for 1 mile at 30 miles an hour, and this first section is all driving over the calcium chloride section. And this was probably 2 months after that calcium chloride had been put down. So this was September 8th. And you can see there's quite a bit of dust coming off of that treated section. And then once we get to close to the end, we enter the soy treated section, and the dust level drops off to almost 0 for that section. So very pleased with how our product controlled dust on this test site. This gravel road was kind of unique. It looks like a regular gravel road, but it actually has up to 50% of reclaimed asphalt pavement millings mixed in with it as an attempt to help stabilize the roadbed. This at the time didn't seem like it would be an issue for us, but something unique happened. You can see in the first photo, A and B, this is the day we applied it. About 30 minutes later, the water that we emulsify the product with has evaporated, and now just the concentrate is left behind. But after about 6 weeks, we saw that our material had interacted with those bits of asphalt that were put in place with the gravel and plasticized them, and the surface of that road transferred into something that looked more like pavement. And it remained this way for a year, through the winter and into the next spring. So this sent us down another path of not only using this material for dust control, but also using it to rejuvenate and find uses for reclaimed asphalt pavement, because there's huge piles of this stuff sitting around, and they're always looking for new ways to utilize that. The following year, we did crop toxicity testing, because a lot of people asked, well, what if I spray this on my road? Is it going to kill the crops, and what's it going to do to the plant life? So we partnered with Dr. Kirk Howitt at NDSU Weed Science, and we set up some test plots with 6 crops: wheat, oats, canola, lentils, soybeans, and sunflowers. And then we planted those crops in stripes across these rectangular test sections. These are about 10 by 25 feet or so. And then we randomized them and did 4 different application rates with replicates. And we did a section where we sprayed the ground right after we seeded, so a pre-emergent application. And then a few months later, post-emergent, we sprayed directly on the leaves in a similar test matrix. And the result of this study was that we did not see toxicity compared to our controls. Only when you completely saturated the leaf did you see some wilting, but it still at that point didn't kill the plant. And this was meant to simulate wind-blown carryover. Let's say your road's being treated on a windy day and some of that is being blown away as a fine mist. That fine mist would never be enough to completely saturate these leaves. So we're pretty confident that our product is non-toxic and not harmful to plants, which is good. With continued funding, this time from the United Soybean Board, we scaled up even further. So no more 250 batches in my lab. We partnered with a chemical toller in South Carolina, and they have a 100-gallon. This is actually their smallest reaction vessel, 100-gallon vessel that we used to successfully scale up our process. And we made 4 50-gallon batches of our material. And the other focus of this was not only to scale it up, but to show that we could use cheaper, unrefined starting materials. Because prior to this point, we were using food grade soybean oil that I bought at Costco, and refined glycerin, and those are fairly expensive. So we wanted to show, yeah, we can scale it up and we can also use bulk crude materials to start with. So both of those points were played out at this stage. The following year, with continued funding from United Soybean Board, we scaled up even further. So this time we partnered with Archer Daniels Midland. They have a pilot facility in Decatur, Illinois, and a 2,000-gallon reaction vessel. And unfortunately, due to COVID restrictions, I wasn't able to travel and be on site. So we did everything over phone and email, but it went really well. The first 2 batches were done faster than expected, and we had extra time and money left. So we decided, hey, let's just make as much material as we can within our budget. And we ended up making 55 totes, 275-gallon totes of ready to apply product. And at this point, we were working closely with BioBlend, and they helped coordinate a lot of the additional test sites. Because originally this project was just 4 test sites, but we were able to make that additional material, and then with BioBlend's help, expand our test sites into over 20. These are predominantly in Iowa, North Dakota, Minnesota, but also in Kansas, Arizona, there's a few places in Canada, and not just county roads. Some of these were gravel quarries, recycling plants, fertilizer, and so forth. Here's a few pictures of some of those sites. Each picture has 2 photos. One is the application day, and the other is the service of that road after treatment. And we did a variety of test sites, and it was an opportunity to treat each test site as something new, and go from, all right, let's see how much material we can put down and still get control, or how little material. So we did a lot of variations. Some of these tests were not successful because not enough material was put down, but we learned a lot from each site. And it was a very beneficial summer, even if we had to drive everywhere with the travel restrictions. And you can see also in these photos that there's quite a variety of trucks that are being used to apply this material. It looks like milk, so it's low viscosity. You don't have to heat it, so you can put it in an egg sprayer. You can put it in, this is just a PVC pipe with holes drilled in it. So it's pretty straightforward to put down. I've used just a garden sprayer as well. So nothing tricky there. This is more detail on one of the sites that we did. This is in Pizik, North Dakota. This is a township road, and you can kind of see a farmstead here right next to it. Now, the farmer, he inherited this farm, it's a family farm, been in the family for generations, and he moved back there recently and to retire, but the house was right next to the road, and he said the road dust problem was so bad that you couldn't even be in the yard when a car drove by. He was considering selling the property, and he heard about our research and begged us to do a test up there. So we did. We sent them a tote, and you can see he's using a borrowed crop sprayer. And this worked okay. The nozzles were a little small, so the spray was a fine mist. It just took many more passes. Normally you could do this in 1 or 2 passes. I think we did it about 10 or 12, but it still worked. And 2 weeks later, we have a real nice firmed up base and no dust. And this farmer couldn't be happier with the results. He's already ordering more and is thrilled that he can have the product on hand and apply it on his own and not have to hire somebody. So here's the vehicle mounted dust data from the PZIC site. On the left side, you'll see it's 0 because I'm just getting started. And then I start driving through the untreated section. There's quite a bit of dust, but then when you drive in front of his farmhouse, dust levels come way down. And then they pick up again as you pass through off to the other side. So these are 2 passes that show a very good result at this site. Recommendations for new users. Usually when calcium chloride and mag chloride are put down, they pre-wet the road to help it soak in. That's not really necessary with this product. In fact, sometimes it performs better if the road is dry. It'll soak in and coat better. Possibly if you have a sandy, loose roadway that when you wet, the water just runs right through it, then you may want to pre-wet. So that'll help our product stay more in the upper layers where the dust is generated. And of course, it's always best before you do any dust control to prep the road, blade it, reshape and restore that crown, and bring that loose material from the shoulder back up and smooth it out so that the product has the ability to penetrate all of the loose surfaces on top. And then it's best to keep traffic off until the whiteness disappears for best results. If they do drive on it, the material, it's non-corrosive, so that's another thing that sets us apart from the chlorides. It won't corrode your vehicle, and it cleans up easily with warm soapy water or just taking it through the car wash. And if you're interested in trying this material in your region, I would encourage you to get a small amount of material and test it on your gravel, because every county is different and your application rate may vary from the county over. And the best way to determine if this is going to work for you is to purchase a barrel or a tote and enough for you to try, and you can try different application rates in the process and kind of dial in what works best. So I mentioned the reclaimed asphalt a little bit. So for future work, now that we're pretty set on the dust control part of things, we want to look at other applications. So we would like to get into reclaimed asphalt pavement rejuvenation, where possibly the material is pre-mixed with the wrap millings and then just laid out for temporary base stabilization, or in the case like we saw in Cass County, where the wrap is already laid down and we just come along and soak it and give a firm base. It could also be used for shoulder buildups or repair and driveway. So that's something we're looking at in the future to expand our field of use. Other markets beyond roads, gravel quarries, of course, and mining operations. They're extremely dusty, a lot of truck traffic. So we have a few of those going on. There's a windmill farm. We're doing testing there as well. And with the drought right now, these operations are trucking in thousands and thousands of gallons of water every day. One operation has 4 semi-trucks running nonstop, just spraying water to keep the dust down at these sites. So eventually economics come to play, because the fuel consumption just to spread that water continuously is quite high. So at some point that's going to pay for a dust control product that you put down and you don't have to keep reapplying it on a daily basis. Other applications would be grain elevators or egg facilities where you have a lot of truck traffic on an unpaved lot. Horse riding arenas, generate a lot of dust, and they don't like to use chlorides because it can dry out the horse's hooves and cause cracking, where our material doesn't do that. National parks and protected areas are also good applications for this material due to its environmentally friendly nature. If you're close to sensitive waterways, this is going to stay intact and not pollute. There's an almond orchard we've done testing on in California. Now, these gravel roads run right through the orchard, so of course they don't want to pollute that with chlorides or anything that would be toxic to the almond trees. So another good application. Gravel driveways for the do-it-yourselfer, trucking lots, wrap rejuvenation, as I had mentioned, and then also we're looking at asphalt shingle renewal because they're made of asphalt, and we know that this material will soften and kind of rejuvenate asphalt. So we're looking at modifying the material to possibly be sprayed on roofs to extend the lifetime of brittle asphalt shingles. So this has been a 7-year journey. We started small in the lab and through one field trial and further scale up with outside partners and many road tests. Not all were successful. We learned a lot. We took what we learned back to the lab and we made adjustments to the formula. And now we have a commercial product through BioBlend. So with that, I'd like to thank the Soybean Council, the United Soybean Board, and North Dakota DOT, and the North Dakota Chamber of Commerce. So I'll turn it back to you, Dale.
Jim, that is amazing. How about that? North Dakota grown right here. Jim sees an opportunity, figures out how to use our locally grown commodities and figure out how to solve problems. You know, our gravel road, 60,000 miles, and I like your PSIC example, that township road with the farmhouse right next to the road. That's the way we built our great state. And what a disservice to have dust in that home, in that yard, and harming people. So this kind of product in front that we can apply, that contractors can apply, love it. You know, and Jim, you asked a question, or you posed the question and showed examples of other opportunities that you're looking at. And we have I love this from the audience, just thinking outside the box. Is there a possibility of making a version of this that could be used in the field, right in the crops, that would be economical to help hold that field soil in place? Is that cool? What are your comments?
Yeah, you know, we talked about that. I attended the North Dakota Soybean Council Research Roundtable, and that topic came up there a few years ago as potentially used for soil stabilization in the field. And I think the answer is yeah, you could. You probably want to confine its use to knoll hilltops where erosion is the highest. You wouldn't be able to spread it over the whole field and be, you know, cash flush, but that's something, yeah, that we could consider. And in small areas, I think it would work.
Amazing. Love the question, audience. If there are other questions or comments, and the material itself, you're the researcher, you're the developer. Is it your patent? How does this product get to market?
So the patent, it's in my name, but the ownership of the patent is North Dakota State University and the North Dakota State University Research Foundation, which is standard. So they have ownership of the patent, and then they handle any licensing or commercialization efforts. So they are the ones that have worked with BioBlend to form that partnership.
So thank you. And then I want to show, if you can see, these are some of the vials from your original production run and your video clip of how it was performing with different materials, comparing it to mag chloride. Amazing, your idea and how you hit the ground with it. I also have from your Cass County original test site, one of the samples to show the audience how far down your product penetrated without any water or any additional effort, just that topical, that top application spray like you showed in your pictures and video. Amazing, it's really held together well. I know Jason Benson and the Cass County crew are very pleased with its performance. So, Jim, fantastic product. Stay online. We're going to have more questions for you as the presentations move forward. And if we could move on to our next presenter. Our next presenter is Kelly Bankston, and it's my honor to work with Kelly at the Upper Great Plains Transportation Institute. Kelly is our road and bridge engineer, our pavement. Well, I'm going to say road. It's more than just pavement, Kelly. It's pavement and bridge and all roads, all things roads that Kelly is one of our subject matter experts. And Kelly, if you could share a little bit of information about your test. You wanted to make sure that it worked, not just hearing from Jim or seeing it from another test section, but you did your own test section. Can you share?
All right. Well, I'm Kelly Bankston, and I worked 32 years for local government for Kitson County, and I had the opportunity to participate in a test strip of this product. And during that career in Kitson County, I was the highway engineer for 23 years. We had some experience with dust control. It's important to utilize it in locations where you have hazardous intersections because it improves visibility for the traveling public. And it also is a health benefit for people that reside adjacent to these areas. And it's also a benefit for the health of livestock and can improve crop yields as well. So was excited to participate in the testing of this product. Got to meet Jim Barr, toured his lab. It's a pretty cool place. Got to meet Todd Allison with BioBlend, and he's a great person there and has a lot of knowledge about this product as well. So the product shown here is shipped and can be shipped in 275-gallon totes. That's how I received it for the test strip that I was involved with. I believe there's other sizes of containers, and I'm sure Todd's going to get to that next. And then the picture here on the right is the product being applied with a commercial tanker truck applicator with pressurized boom and nozzles. And as Jim mentioned, there's patents on this product, and BioBlend is marketing it as Epic EL, and that stands for Esterlink Technology. It's important to prepare your roadway first. Come in with a motor grader, break up the crust that's there, reestablish the crown. Gravel roads are generally crowned at a 4% rate from center line, or 1/2 inch per foot of linear cross distance on the roadway. I was happy to hear that you can use on-farm equipment, and so the picture here shown on the right is a farm water truck with a pressurized boom, and the picture on, that's the picture on the left. The picture on the right is a farm sprayer, and either one of these can be utilized. So this test strip was on a township road, generally fairly low traffic. However, during the farm season, it's a supply route for a fertilizer plant. So there gets to be quite a bit of heavy commercial traffic and field traffic as well. Obtained permission from the town board first before applying the product, because they're the road authority, they own the road. So it's a good idea to talk to the road authority first of all to see what kind of permits may be required. I'll show you the video here of the product being applied. So this is just a farm water truck with a 3.5 horse engine pressurizing a PVC pipe boom with 3/16 diameter holes drilled into it about every 3 inches. So the product was applied at a 1/3 of a gallon per square yard rate. The truck was calibrated with water first so that we knew exactly how much material was going down. Here the picture on the left is the untreated roadway, and the picture on the right is after treatment, of course. and this was applied September 25th of last fall. The product has some significant lasting power, in my opinion. The picture on the right here is taken this spring, so the material had overwintered, and it's still doing an acceptable job of dust control, and I've been monitoring it quite closely. And here's another short video of the product in action. So you can see the reduction in dust as the vehicle reaches the treated segment there. It's quite significant, and that was taken this spring after the product had overwintered on this roadway. So as I mentioned, it was applied September 25th, 0.34 gallons per square yard was the application rate. Virtually no dust was observed throughout the fall season. And I have applied a second application this spring on May 8th at 1/4 gallon per square yard. And I'm still seeing very great performance here with a vast improvement compared to the dust that was being generated with no material applied at all. So with that, turn it back to Dale and or to Todd, the next speaker, and I'll be available for questions later.
Kelly, wonderful presentation. In typical engineer's style, you had to prove to yourself that it would work to be an advocate, and thank you for doing that. You know, your presentation melds really well with Todd's, so let's group our questions with yours and Todd's and move right into Todd. Thank you, Kelly. Great presentation. So our next presenter is Todd Ellison. He is the regional business manager for BioBlend, and he's the one that's going to help us figure out how to do dust control, suppress the dust in the field around our homes and other places. Todd, I know you've got a lot to share. I can't wait, and our audience can't wait to learn from you. I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Dale. Hopefully everybody can see the screen there.
Looks good, sounds good.
All right, thank you. And I'd like to first thank Dale and his team at Upper Great Plains for pulling this together, along with Stephanie and her team at the North Dakota Soy Council, and obviously the big player in it as well is the United Soybean Board for getting this product to where Jim has taken it today. So thanks to everybody. Okay, and again, I'm Todd Allison with BioBlend Renewable Resources. I'm a regional business manager for BioBlend. Been involved with this product since the onset. Approximately 16, 18 months ago, we started conversations with Jim and his team at North Dakota State, and worked closely with him throughout the last, primarily the last summer and spring and summer into the fall, doing a number of different field studies and modifying of the formulas just to perfect it, as Jim said. We are located in Elk Grove Village, Illinois. We're a manufacturer and marketing company. We've been in this bio-based commercial industrial world for over 20 years. We've been a strategic partner with Archer Daniels Midland since 2007. There's 4 business managers as myself throughout North America, and the soy-based dust suppressant, this particular product, is being manufactured in a facility in Iowa, Indiana, and Niagara Falls, Ontario. So we've done a lot of research just trying to find the best source points for the raw materials to get it closest as we can to a lot of our initial focus area. So kind of an introduction to the dust suppressant, as Jim and Kelly both shared with you. The EPIC EL, as Kelly said, does stand for ester link technology. That's a term we coined on the early portion of this product. Patented, soy-based, and it is quite unique, as Jim shared with you. It's fully synthesized at extremely high temperatures. So that's one thing that I think does make this fairly difficult to manufacture because of what he's come up with. It takes a lot of temperature to get that reaction and synthesize to take place. It is a very sound environmentally conscious product. We did send it through the USDA biopreferred for a third-party testing, and they came back and registered it as 100% bio-based. So that's a big piece to recognize. It is non-toxic, as others have said, non-leaching, non-corrosive, and another point that I think is important: it's not dependent on water or moisture to be effective. A lot of the traditional type products, they need moisture. They pull moisture from the air to keep them effective. This product, once it's cured, it is not dependent on water. It is highly effective, as you've seen from a few of those test sites that we've done, and is cost competitive. The commercialization efforts that we've done over the last 18 months, it was released on Earth Day of 2021. Like I said, 16 to 18 months worth of research and development has gone into it from our standpoint, working with Jim, and been primarily focused on the Midwest. We've tested, as Jim said, with many different versions of it, some with success, some with failures, but at each junction we learned a lot, and we pivoted to do what we needed to do to make modifications and come up with a good solid product as we have today. To date now, I know Jim had talked, we were about 20 test sites. We're up over 30 different sites that we've tested on, and continuing to evaluate a number of the most recent sites that have put down this spring. As I said earlier, we've done a lot of research on the raw material side of it, trying to find the best source points to keep this product as most cost effective as we can. That has proven to be a little bit difficult this year, just because of the prices of soybeans and ultimately the prices of soybean oils. But we're doing our best from a logistics standpoint to bring the product to the market by the most cost-effective means as possible. And then, as Jim talked about, looking at some of the other applications, we've been working closely with Jim on that, and then going through and securing regulatory approvals. The EPIC EL, we deliver it in the most economical means as possible, ideally in a pure concentrate form, which I'll share with you pictures of that here shortly. And if we can't ship it in the concentrate form and have you mix it in a concentrate form, we can ship it in an emulsion form. Either of the products can be shipped in bulk, totes, drums, and pails. We prefer you to work with one of our business managers just to optimize. Every road surface, every region is different. So if we can work together to kind of hone in on what your application is, to come up with the best concentration ratio, as well as the best application rate. When it's emulsified with water, it still contains, or still has a water consistency to it. It'll be more of a white yellowish color to it, kind of like a whole milk. And typical application equipment can be used to apply this product. You really don't need anything high tech for it. Having commercialized units spray it, it is obviously the best path if possible, but if you're looking to do just a small portion on your own of your township road or your driveway or within your own farmlands or whatever, any type of equipment can be used, as you've seen from some of the stuff that Jim and Kelly had shared as well. Ideally, we want a pressurized spray bar. We want to be able to calculate this to make sure we're getting the right amount of product down. We don't want to skimp on the amount going down, making sure it's going to perform for you. If we're going to go through it, we want to make sure that we've got the right amount going down, and that somewhere it seems to be somewhere between that 0.4 of a gallon to half a gallon per square yard. Cure time can vary. Obviously weather plays a big part in that. The cure time with Kelly's application up there in Kitson County, that took a little longer. It was a cool day, cloudy day. There's been other applications where, within 10 minutes on a nice sunny warm day with a gentle breeze, it will cure where you can drive over it within 10-15 minutes. Clean up when you're done. It really is simple, as Jim talked about there. It cleans up very easily with water. It may take some general agitation in your tank, but if you really needed to do a deep cleaning, just soap and water will do just fine. So mixing of the product, that is what the concentrate looks like in its pure form. When you just general mix water, this particular one is 25% concentrate, 75% water without any mixing. You can see some just slight separation. When you do a general mixing to it, it really does emulsify nice, and it will hold a nice stable emulsion like you see in the right picture there. You may have, if you did this and let it sit for 24-48 hours, you may have to do just general agitation to it again to get it to fully emulsify, but that is what the product that you're looking to eventually apply, you want it to look like that. Traditional contract spray systems, as you saw in some of the pictures there, those are what you see a lot of out today is with chlorides. Those traditional type of spray systems can be used with this product as well. All different types of nozzles and spray bars and booms and types. The main thing, you want to be able to measure it, how much you're putting down, and you want a good even spray pattern. You don't want a lot of overlap from your spray pattern, and you want to be able to adjust so maybe you're not spraying quite so hard on the outsides of the road as you are during the traffic pattern areas of the roads. So for those that would like to do it yourself, companies like Ag Spray Equipment, they manufacture units like the one you see there. Very effective, easy to use. You can mix it in the tank, and the main thing with some of these, you want to play around with the nozzle sizes a little bit, like Jim referenced, and try to find the nozzles that are going to provide a good even spray that isn't turning it into a mist as much as it is flooding the road. You want a good heavy coverage on it, not misting. So if you do have it misting, you're going to have to do multiple runs to make it effective. I've had a number of people use it just on their side-by-side ATVs, similar to that. Very effective means to do smaller areas. So some of the ideal uses that we see, as Jim talked about alternative uses, but really in those environmentally sensitive areas, this product is not going to be as inexpensive as chlorides. So you have to evaluate where is the best place for it, and finding those areas that are environmentally sensitive areas, that's a good place to start. Uses in areas where high maintenance areas, intersections, inclines, corners, those areas that you've got a lot of acceleration or braking, you end up getting the potholes, the raveling, the rumble strips. Those are great areas to look at applying this product, really truly to help stabilize as much as keep the dust down. Transition areas, those are always troublesome areas where you're transitioning from a asphalt road to a gravel road or a concrete slab coming into a grain elevator, for instance. Those areas tend to always be areas that need a lot of maintenance. Great spot for this product. Then also early spring and late fall areas. Traditional type products keep that moisture in the soil. At night when you have temperatures dropping below 32 degrees and you tend to get a little potential freezing areas. This type of product will not happen. You won't get that freezing, potentially slippery surfaces because of freezing. And then unfortunately right now a lot of the areas are experiencing severe droughts, and this product, where other products need that water, that moisture to be effective, this product does not need the moisture. So once it's applied, it's going to be effective whether it's a rainy season or a drought. Some of the approvals that we've to date received, we've, as I mentioned earlier, the USDA Bio Preferred. We did get that stamp, 100% bio-based. We did run through a third-party toxicity testing over and above what Jim's team did, talking about the for the crop toxicity. This is also a certified test procedure for products. We did a 5-day biological demand test on the product. We did toxicity leaching procedure for it called T-clip, which is typical in landfills. This just kind of gives an idea of how much it could leach. And as we talked, there really is no leaching of this product. Once it's cured on the roadway, it sets up. And then we've started the process through the Organic Materials Review Institute as well. So to order the product, we have a couple means. One would be through our email system at customerorders@bioblend.com, and the other is contacting me directly. I've got on the screen there my email address, my phone number, and Dale and his team, and they can forward this to whoever. It will be in the recorded version as well, so if you like to refer back to it and reach out to me directly, please feel free to reach out. Again, thank you all. I appreciate you taking the time to go through the presentations here, and thanks to everybody that pulled this together.
Oh, thank you, Todd. Wonderful presentation. We have time for one quick question. And the question from the audience is, what happens to the treated road when the blade operator, the blade runs over that treated section?
Yeah, good, very good question. And ideally you would want to work with your road operators to just pull up the blade after after you put this product down. What we're seeing in a lot of the test areas is that because of some of the things that Jim talked about as well, the roads don't need the blading as often as they do with traditional type products. There's a lot less maintenance that's required because it's acting more of a stabilizer, or I shouldn't say more as a stabilizer, but equal as a stabilizer as a dust suppressant. So we hope that you wouldn't have to blade it as often, and that's what we've seen on a lot of the test sites. So just working with your road operators to pull the blade up as they go over those sections.
Well said, Todd. So BioBlend Epic EL, Jim, Kelly, Todd, very nice job. A transportation solution product to reduce dust, gravel preservation, keep our gravel in place, less maintenance costs, safer for us as people, our crops, and our livestock. Nice. Let's move on to the next soy solution and how we're going to save the world with soybeans. Again, we're going to jump into biodiesel, and with us to kick it off and help us understand what biodiesel is and where the market's heading, we have Scott Fenwick with the National Biodiesel Board. Scott, if you could help us learn more about biodiesel.
I appreciate it, Dale. Thanks, and good morning, everyone. My name's Scott Fenwick. I serve as the technical director for the National Biodiesel Board. And in that capacity, my role is to help ensure that there are no technical barriers to using higher volumes of biodiesel and biodiesel blends in fueling applications around the country. And so it really is an exciting way to work with petroleum companies to help integrate biodiesel into their fuel options, as well as vehicle and engine manufacturers to help ensure that their latest round of technologies are compatible with biodiesel and renewable fuels in moving forward. And so the market driver today is all about reducing carbon. And so there are federal policies you may be familiar with, such as the Renewable Fuel Standard, or RFS. There are incentives, the Biodiesel Blenders Tax Credit, but there are also state policies. The West Coast now, with Washington State just a month ago, have now all passed low carbon fuel standards that are demanding more renewable fuels into their mix each and every year. That extends all the way up into Canada. British Columbia also has a low carbon fuel standard, along with Oregon, and the biggest one being California. It's not just transportation fuel, it's home heating oil as well. That industry passed what they called the Providence Resolution a year and a half ago, where they are committed to 100% biodiesel use, what they call bioheat, by the year 2050, which is a potential 4 billion gallons of biodiesel being consumed as heating oil for home heat. There are also corporate policies. ESG, you may hear that acronym and those letters over and over. Stands for environmental and social governance. Companies now are making money off of being renewable and more sustainable. And there are huge pushes. Some of the recent announcements, ExxonMobil, arguably what was the largest global corporation just a few years ago, now has 2 seats on their board of directors specifically to become more sustainable. A lot of companies are considering that ESG movement, those environmental and social governance programs, are going to be the primary investment consideration moving forward. So that's for the general public. There are people and funds now that are only investing money in corporations that have those governance programs in place. Then there's sustainable aviation and renewable jet fuels. There's a hope by this administration and by that industry to reduce 50% of their emissions by 2050, which could be an additional 4.6 million gallons of sustainable aviation fuel moving forward. But here's biodiesel and renewable diesel, what I would refer to as biomass-based diesel fuel. You can see our growth over the last nearly 30 years, and it really is that. Our industry is going to be celebrating its 30th anniversary next year from when it was approved by the EPA as a fuel and fuel additive, and as biodiesel became commercialized across the country. There have been plenty of dips you can see in this growth chart that typically corresponds to when the biodiesel blenders tax credit fell out of line with what Congress had passed. Each of those times that it's done that, you can see huge increases thereafter as Congress reinstated that program retroactively in each case. And so that helps move the industry forward as well. But if you notice, we're a 3 billion gallon a year industry today, but I just talked about home heating oil being 4 billion gallons by the year 2050, and sustainable aviation fuel, another 4.5 million gallons moving forward. That's what's prompting the huge growth and requirements for soybean oil and soybean prices that you see in the marketplace today. We know, though, that if you've tried biodiesel in the past, you may not have a fond remembrance of that use. We know that our industry had quality issues back 15 years ago. There were significant problems back in 2004, 2005, as states like Minnesota were trying to implement their state mandate. That mandate now has bumped up to 20% biodiesel in every gallon of diesel fuel sold there in the state during the warmest 6 months of the year. During the winter months, when it's colder, they revert back to B5. And when I say B5 and B20, those are 5% and 20% blends in diesel fuel today. But because of those problems, the industry implemented a program called BQ9000. It's a quality management system. We do not guarantee the quality of any particular gallons. What we do is promote the program that people can adopt, and we perform annual audits, quality audits of their facilities each year to help ensure that they have the policies and procedures in place that will ensure the fuels that they're creating, whether or not it's B100 or B5, B20 blends, are fit for purpose and use in any fueling application. And so it's a voluntary program, as I mentioned. It's administered by the National Biodiesel Accreditation Commission, which is an independent commission made up of people in the industry that represent biodiesel producers, marketers, independent lab testing station, the petroleum industry, as well as retailers. We have a new program for retailers. It's a unique combination of those ASTM specs that you must meet in order to provide your fuel for sale with the EPA and the IRS and the other programs around that. But it's grown significantly since we first implemented this 15 years ago, to the point now that many of those original equipment manufacturers, those engine manufacturers, including several state agencies, now require biodiesel, and the biodiesel blends used in their engines come from a BQ9000 accredited facility. One of those states, again, Massachusetts, we're involved in some rewriting. They're proposing new regulations, new legislation in their state. They have a requirement currently that biodiesel and biodiesel blends sold to the state under their fuel procurement program must come from a BQ9000 facility. Now it's interesting. Again, it's not a guarantee of fuel quality, but I would relate it to if I offered you 2 cell phones, one being the latest and greatest Apple iPhone that everybody wants and needs, and of course we see people trading in their phones each and every year, or I offer you one of those Motorola brick phones or a bag phone from 20 years ago. Which would you take? And again, the answer is obvious, and we realize that as well. And I would equate that to biodiesel quality. We have improved so much over the last 20 years that it's really that big of a difference that you would see in cell phone technology. It's interesting in that fuel technology, fuel composition has changed greatly over the years, and not many people understand that either. 30 years ago, if you were purchasing diesel fuel, it was what was called high sulfur diesel fuel. That changed to a low sulfur diesel fuel, which then changed to what's called ultra low sulfur diesel fuel, or ULSD, that's in place today. But at the same time as fuel composition is changing, so are engine technologies. And so an engine in your equipment, in your truck that was in place 30 years ago isn't the same as what's in use today. Today, all the engines have emissions after treatment devices, and the National Biodiesel Board works with every one of those engine manufacturers to ensure B20 blends, at least B20, are compatible with each and every one of their engine technologies. We also do annual surveys, and I'll provide you links to those if you are curious about what the quality of biodiesel is today. But we estimate that 90% of the biodiesel produced within North America now comes from a BQ 9000 accredited production facility. We take their data each of the last 4 years, and we ask them to provide that to us, where the National Biodiesel Board then randomizes that data, anonymizes that data, so it's indiscernible. We're not trying to point out and point fingers at any producer in general, but we take that statistical data and we provide that to the Department of Energy and the National Renewable Energy Lab, where they statistically analyze it to determine how well the industry is performing against those specifications and minimum performance levels we talked about. And we have those reports are available here. And again, these links will be provided as part of the recorded program, also through the slides today. But what I can tell you is that the industry has really stepped up their quality. We often compare ourselves to diesel fuel today. There are more parameters that biodiesel producers must meet and prove in their quality than the petroleum diesel fuel meets today. And so we're a highly scrutinized fuel. We're a new fuel. We realize if you had problems years ago, you may have some hesitancy in trying it again, but I would tell you there are a lot of reasons why you want to do that. The lubricity benefits, the emissions benefits, the combustion benefits that you get from biodiesel all help to improve health of the people around you. Just like we saw with the dust suppressants just a minute ago, biodiesel reduces engine emissions to improve human health, as well as improving engine life. The lubricity that biodiesel adds to that fuel can help reduce the maintenance on your new high pressure common rail engines that will extend engine life as well. So if you do have questions, I've been involved in the fuels industry for over 30 years. We'd be happy to help and work with you if you are interested in trying to use higher biodiesel blends. But again, I'm thrilled, Dale, to be able to talk with your audience today and explain some of the additional benefits that biodiesel can offer.
Wow, Scott, I can't believe it. 30 years. It seems like just yesterday. That is amazing. And you brought up a really good point. Sometimes as we develop products, we're doing the test sections like the dust control. Todd and Jim, you and Kelly, you heard them talking about the test control, so we figure out how to best use the product and work any bugs out that we might have. Same with Diesel Man, you've worked through them. And I can't wait to hear from our next speaker, Nathan Birgitz, who is with the Grand Forks Cities Area Transit, to find out what it's like to be a user and how it's performing in the equipment today. So Nathan, with that, I'd like to turn it over to you to help us learn.
Well, thank you guys for having us. On behalf of myself and the rest of the folks at Cities Area Transit, we're very honored to be here today to share our success story and our roadmap to where we're at today with the use of biodiesel. How it all got started is we were approached by the folks at MegCorp a few years ago, and we were invited to attend a national biodiesel conference in Florida with them, a See for Yourself conference. So we attended that conference, and with that conference, we learned about the use of biodiesel, the support from the manufacturers, and also the quality of that as well. So with that being said, we attended that conference, learned more, and then we heard from end users and vendors that were using biodiesel. And what really stuck with me was the folks in the heating and oil industry and their success stories that they were talking about with the use of biodiesel and the less maintenance they need to do on their home furnaces. So that kind of put a light switch in my head to bring it back to my boss, Dale Bergman, and the folks at the Cities Area Transit to talk about maybe we should try this. I think we have something here. So we spoke with our staff and basically met with our maintenance staff and other folks, and with the great resources from the National Soybean Council, North Dakota the National Biodiesel Council, the North Dakota Soybean Council, and of course the great folks at MagCorp, we decided to move forward with the use of biodiesel. So that all
Nathan,
started.
are you wanting to share a presentation now?
Yes, is that?
It is. It was up and it's down now. So if we can stop
great.
momentarily. Dustin, anything we need to do to help him? I'm sharing screen there. It's coming in. You're back live. Cat's
Okay.
biodiesel success story. Thank you.
Okay. So again, is that we partnered with the North Dakota Soybean Council and MagCorp. A little bit of background on our facility. It's pretty much the same as a truck stop or gas station. We have a 10,000 gallon underground storage tank for diesel. MagCorp provided us with fuel samples, so they did test fuel samples before our transition to ensure that there were no contaminations or water in our tanks. So we got those samples back and everything checked out good. So we accepted our first load of B20 in June 29th of 2020. And with that being said, we ran B20 through the end of December. We were seeing such good success from June to December with the use of biodiesel. The first thing we noticed is our oil samples were coming back a lot cleaner. We were having issues before the use of biodiesel with dirty oil samples, issues with contaminations in our oil, and so forth. So with the great results, we decided as a group, let's go ahead and run B10 through the colder months, January and February. So we ran their first load in January, great results. So we extended that through February. And then as the temperatures warmed, we switched back to B20 in March. So to date, we've burned over 4,300 gallons of biodiesel. And I'm happy to report that we have not had a single issue running B20 only results. What are those results? Well, first of all, most importantly, our environment benefits. As Scott alluded to earlier, our CO2 pollutants were down 15.28%. That calculates to 108,960 pounds of emission reduction for our folks in the city of Grand Forks. So we were very excited to see those numbers. Also, a recent study that's been come out by the U.S. Department of Agriculture and Argonne National Laboratory, they found that biodiesel reduces greenhouse gas emission by 72%. So very, very good numbers coming back as far as the help for environment. And we also noticed in our shop, we park our buses inside at night and they start up in the morning. And we also noticed a great reduction in exhaust fumes and other issues with having those buses in our shop. So again, happy to report the benefits of running B20. As a transit agency with our buses, we operate in very high idle percentages. This creates issues with our emission systems. Our engines are all emission-based engines. We have what we could call the first generation that has a DPF filter or a diesel particulate filter on it. And what this does is it traps exhaust soot and ash in the exhaust and basically keeps them in them filters. So what's B20 done for us in this regard? Well, it's helped us to reduce the stress of the DPF filters plugging. And this has resulted in a major reduction of maintenance costs for us and downtime for our equipment. And also in our newer generation of emissions engines, they now use diesel exhaust fluid or DEF fluid. And we've noticed a great reduction in the use of our DEF fluid as well with the use of biodiesel. And that's because, again, our DEF filters are having to regen a lot less due to the use of biodiesel. So as I stated before, our oil samples are coming back cleaner, reduction of anywhere from 30 to 40% in soot levels. So why are we seeing that? Well, in a emissions engine and a diesel, they have an EGR valve on them. And if the exhaust gases that are being monitored by the computer in the engine doesn't like it or doesn't think it's clean enough to go out into the atmosphere, it regenerates it through the engine, into the oil, and then back out again into the exhaust. So because of our use of biodiesel, we're burning a lot cleaner fuel and that's why we're seeing the big reduction in those problems. Also, it supports our farmers. We come from a farming community here in Grand Forks, so we're very happy that the use of our tax dollars that we get from farmers and our local area, that we can in turn run biodiesel and give back to the farmers as well. I have a few pictures here to share. This is our DPF filters before the use of biodiesel, and this filter was in for about 4 months, so you can see it's completely plugged. In a DPF filter, this is basically your exhaust, and there's small honeycomb tubes that are running down through these filters. And as you can see, the top of this surface is completely plugged along with those honeycomb tubes. Also, as I stated before, our plugged EGR tubes. So this is where the exhaust gases get recirculated back into the engine and once again out through the exhaust. And as you can see, we were seeing them being completely plugged. So as again, lots of downtime, high maintenance costs. What we noticed with biodiesel is we took a bus apart and we noticed our DPF filters were a lot cleaner. This is an example of running a DPF filter with biodiesel for 12 months. As you can see just a little bit of soot on top of that DPF filter, and you can also see those honeycomb tubes, so to speak, that are in there, and not a whole lot of issues there, just very minimal soot on those filters. This is the secondary filter that sits above that one, and you can see here it almost looks like a new one. So this is what a clean DPF filter looks like, and back to the secondary filter after 12 months. So we're very excited to see our results from running B20. So why is the biodiesel the answer? Well, the oxygen in biodiesel provides more complete combustion, and it produces 50% less soot than petroleum diesel. So again, two most important things is to have low ash in your oil. So having a good quality oil and a good quality fuel. And we're very happy that we found this in B20. So it's providing us with great results. So less soot means DPF filters fill up slower, resulting in fewer regens. It enhances in performance through higher cetane. Again, it adds lubricity and puts less stress on our DPF filters. Again, with biodiesel, the particulates that happen to build up in the DPF filters, they're going to burn off easier than those from the ultra low sulfur diesel. And the results of less need for regen and plugging the filters results in increased fuel mileage for us. This is our comparison chart from 2019 and 2020. And if you go to the very bottom, you can see that we've noticed an increase in fuel mileage running B20. And that's greatly the result of less DPF filters plugging. So very happy to see the results through less maintenance costs and increased fuel mileage has really benefited our facility. And with all the exciting results, we've teamed up with the folks at MagCorp, the North Dakota Soybean Council, in promoting biodiesel. So this is one of our buses that runs down one of our main corridors in Grand Forks, and it's a full wrap with biodiesel promoting with the help of North Dakota Soybean Council and MagCorp. So that is our success story here in the city of Grand Forks, Cities Area Transit, with the use of biodiesel.
Wow. Nathan, that was incredible. Not only are you an advocate for the local farmers in the state and the product, but the data, the photos, absolutely not just a gut feeling. You have the information. You've tracked it. Impressive. You're the rest of your board. What are their thoughts?
Our division director, Mr. Bergman, he's very excited with the results. He's been super supportive and has kind of let me run with this. And our city administration is very excited to see the results. And you know, it's just been a great experience. And I can't thank everybody involved with us enough, the support that we've gotten. And what's really exciting is there's no upfront costs. We've spent $0 in upfront infrastructure costs, and we've always wanted to be environmentally conscious. Use of electric buses, there's so much infrastructure costs to get started on that. So this was something that was very exciting with the no upfront cost, nothing upfront, and to be able to do this and to see the results, it's been really beneficial for us, and we're really excited to share our experience.
I can see the passion, I can hear the passion from you, and it's from an outsider's perspective, it's incredible to see a champion like you, Nathan, take this on and implement it. And so, Scott, how do we get this to all the transit, all the other users in the state? What have you seen in other areas?
Well, I'd love for Nathan to give a presentation to all the other fleet managers across the country. That's what it would take. And part of the tough part is, I can come in with presentation and white papers and data, and after a while, people's eyes tend to gloss over, and that gets to be tough. But the greatest testaments are fleet managers like Nathan, where in spite of the data, again, don't take my word for it. Try it, see the benefits that it can bring to you and your operations, and then make that decision.
Love it. Nathan, the data, again, your photos, so spot on. And I'm hoping that you will allow us to pass your name on. And as we post this, people will see, but we'd love to pass and refer people to you.
Absolutely. We'd be more than happy to any other further questions. We are tracking some more data, so we'll gather some more data as we go. And we're actually looking at running an increased percentage B30 in the future. We're hoping to do that in July. So yeah, this is far from being over for us. This is just the beginning.
Wow, just the beginning. Most audience, stay tuned. Nathan, Grand Forks, more good things to come. So you mentioned that the cost, the upgrades weren't there, that the investment was just switch and go, but there are a lot of players that help us understand how to use it, and one of them is our next presenter. And so I'd like to introduce Lisa Peterson, and she is with MegCorp, and that is a group that helps with technical assistance, and I believe that is at no cost, again, to help you use a product and use it well. So again, thank you, Nathan. Great presentation. Lisa, I'll turn it over to you.
So MegCorp is a partner of North Dakota Soybean Council. We have been tasked with providing education and promotion and technical support of biodiesel throughout the state. And as you heard, we were out looking for a fleet to use B20, and we found the perfect partner in Cities Area Transit. All the way through is an example of what MegCorp does in the state of North Dakota. We work with the fuel suppliers with technical support, economics, supply. So that's kind of a first area that we worked with. We have a number of fuel suppliers that are offering biodiesel now. We work with governments at the city, county, and state levels to utilize higher blends. We operate a diesel helpline to answer general questions, provide guidance, and diagnose fuel-related issues. The helpline is primarily for anyone that's using biodiesel blends or any farmers, because we're partnering with the North Dakota Soybean Council. We make our services available to all farmers. We are also an ASC accredited training provider for continuing automotive service education. So we do provide workshops at the diesel technical community colleges, but we can also do training on site at any of the city, state, community fleets, and your technicians can earn credit. As Nathan had mentioned, the very first thing we did is go and knock on his door, ask him if he could meet with us to talk about considering biodiesel. So anyone, any fleet that's interested in using biodiesel, we'd be happy to do a presentation to you and your team. Once you decide that that's what you'd like to do, we can conduct staff training as needed. You don't need training to use biodiesel, but a lot of our training has to do with best practices of fuel handling. We do check the storage tanks prior to use with fleets, as Nathan also mentioned. And the primary reason is you could be one fuel truckload away from having a problem due to water in the tank or sediment, and we want to check and make sure that you have a clean environment before we put any biodiesel in there, just so if you do have a problem, it's always that last thing that you put in the tank that's going to be blamed. We want you to have a successful experience with biodiesel. We can help you develop routine maintenance programs and provide training to retrieve samples so that your fleet staff can be checking on a regular basis to make sure that you don't have water in your tank. You yourselves can be monitoring that. Send the samples to us, we'll test them. You know, we look for biodiesel content, microbial contamination. We do that fuel quality testing as we head into the colder season. You might want to know what cold operability you have. Right. If you're continuing to use a B10, what's that fuel going to operate at? So we can provide that guidance for the seasonal transitions. As I mentioned, we do have the diesel helpline, so you can contact us to ask general questions, or if you're experiencing a problem, you can send in fuel samples and the filters, and we will take a look and see what is causing that, and we're able to provide you with recommendations on how you can avoid those problems in the future. Here's my contact information for any fleets that would be interested in learning more, having us come out and do a presentation. And then, of course, there is the diesel helpline for anyone who has questions before they consider using biodiesel or any fuel-related questions that they may have.
Lisa, wow, so quite the service you provide. So yeah, in the fleet, I get it, you're going to help them, but what about the local farmer who wants to switch over? Are you willing to and able to help them with their tanks and review?
Definitely. We have a number of farmers that are using B20, which when you said today that your son-in-law, Mike Langseth, I know he's using B20. Just talked to him recently. Most farmers are not going to need to have someone come out and check their tanks before using it, but definitely give us a call. We will take the samples. You can always, we're at farm shows, so you can bring the samples there or call us. We'll tell you how to send them into our office. But we do have somebody located up in Fargo as well and has made site visits.
Wow, wonderful service. So soybeans saving the world, or at least making a big impact in the transportation world. We've heard about dust control. We've heard about biodiesel. Incredible, Lisa. And Nathan and Scott, thank you so much for helping us understand the biodiesel end. Now let's move into another topic where soybeans are helping our transportation world, and that's in the bridge end. And what in the world? How can soybeans help the bridge world? So I've got a quick update on North Dakota's bridge health, and getting right into it. Hope you can see my presentation. North Dakota's bridge health. Let's take a look at where we're at in the nation. North Dakota, you know, in oil, we're number 2. Texas really whomps us there, but we're number 2 in the entire nation. Feels pretty good, right? In ag, oh my goodness, number 1 in honey, wheat, barley, sunflowers, and a wealth of other ag commodities. And soybeans, we happen to be number 9. We are right up there, and it feels really good in football, hockey. North Dakota is just a kick-butt leader, right? Not in everything. Nationally, North Dakota ranks 40th in bridge condition. So ranking down the bottom, near the bottom for bridge conditions, it hurts. And so what can we do? Let's take a look at bridges. Here's what we normally would think of bridges, right? We can all picture that. But on the general bridge definition, a bridge is something 20 foot and longer a span that carries a load, carries traffic. So this box culvert weighs in and is categorized as a bridge. Also, multiple pipes, depending on how they're configured and the size, can also count as a bridge. The national federal bridge definition is 20 foot and over. Those are the bridges that we inspect. So in North Dakota, let's take a look at how we're doing in the state. I love this map. This map tells us a couple things. The darker the county, the higher their bridge population. The lighter the county, the lower their bridge population. So you can see counties like Kidder County with 0 bridges of 20 foot and over in length on the local network. And you can see the population of bridges with the dots. The green are good bridges, yellow are fair, and the red are poor. But let's quantify it. So now we can visually see where the bridges are. Let's quantify it. Those 31, roughly 3,100 bridges on the local network in North Dakota, about half of them are good. That means we've got a lot of challenge. We've got a challenge to keep those good bridges good and get the fair and poor bridges up to speed. Sad news is 14% are poor. Scary news is 21% of the bridges, 1 in 5 in North Dakota on the local network is posted. That means as industry, ag, our payload over the roadway network has a disconnect in or a potential disconnect. When we look at bridges, the federal government was really good. And it started out in about 1967, right after the collapse of this famous bridge connecting West Virginia and Ohio. We had fatalities. And the government helped us understand that bridges are important. They're the lifeline for our transportation network. So inspection, a national process started. It really ramped up in 2007, became very, very noticeable to the general public when we had the I-35 collapse in Minneapolis. Those are bigger bridges, not in North Dakota. What's the relevance? The relevance is bridges are bridges. They still create that connectivity issue. They still provide that lifeline for our transportation network, and they provide a safe, when they're in good shape, means to cross over something. So when we look at a flood locally, we see if we hit the news, a bridge is washed out, a culvert washed out. How does it impact us? Just like the I-35, just like the Ohio Bridge, people die. People die when our bridges go down. So the Vision Zero concept with the North Dakota DOT references our bridge, or really targets our bridge program along with the other assets in the transportation system. And what can we do? Well, let's take a look at what it means first. Bridge out. Well, none of us want to see this sign because it means our route is probably a little bit longer or maybe a lot longer. Now, if I'm in a car, that indirection, that short distance between A and B, changes to the red line. In a car, it might be an inconvenience. However, with ag equipment, with industry, that can be an incredibly terrible addition to your bottom line, or subtraction from your bottom line, an increase of cost. So we have to really manage our bridge network so that our state's business vitality remains high. What does it look like in the field? Sometimes our width restrictions are a problem for our equipment and bridges come down. That's just shy of $1 million bridge that went down. Sometimes the loading, the stress that our equipment puts on with posting, and sometimes we don't see the signs, or sometimes they're neglected and we carry loads that are too heavy, bridge components fail. What about bridges that are in very remote locations and only serve maybe one field, one farm? How can we justify spending $500,000 to $1 million on a 100-foot long structure like this? It's difficult. So how do we take care of them? Sometimes we don't understand. In this example, we had a grain cart that carried many full loads over a structure. The tracks, as they turned mid-span, created a toppling effect of the beams, and the bridge failed. And this is with a only partially loaded cart. So sometimes it's not weight, sometimes it's the forces that we, not fully understanding how we're loading a bridge, put on that bridge deck. And then Mother Nature is so strong. We've got bridges that are washed out, bridges that are undermined, and we've got to constantly work on them. We have to understand the equipment, whether it's our oil, whether it's our farm production equipment, and when we're maintaining them. Think about the county, townships, and cities that have to go over the roadway systems. A blade, a typical blade without any attachments is 22 ton. And yet we've got to maintain, look at this example, 4-ton posting. We've got to maintain that roadway with a 22 to 25 ton blade. It's difficult. So it's in the interest of not only our business model, but also our maintenance model to have a bridge, a sound bridge network. What does it mean if we take that blade over that bridge, maintain it in a traditional form? Fortunately, this isn't a picture in our state. These bad things can happen. So bridges in North Dakota, 1 in 5 posted. We can do better. Our counties, our cities, our state, we're doing phenomenally well. We're bringing that number down. We're not going to be at 40th worst very long, but we do have a long way to go. There's a wealth of information at our bridge class. Federal Highway has information for us to look at. Please tap into us. If you want to come to our bridge class, let us know. We'll check you in free. Say you love soybeans and you'll get in free to the class, because together we can do great things. So that's a little bit of information about bridge condition, the bridge health in North Dakota. And with that, I really want to now get into how the Soy Transportation Coalition with Mike Steenhoek can figured out a way for soybean and soybean production to help our bridge condition in the state. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to you, Mike, if you would, please.
Well, good morning. Well, thanks, Dale, for the opportunity to be with you today. And you know, the question I like to tee off is the area, or the statement is, the area of the country in which the condition of our bridges is most severe or most dilapidated also happens to be the area of the country where resources are the most scarce or on the decline, and that's rural America. So that's the dilemma. And you know, I think you did a good job of talking about the pretty exorbitant costs of replacing many of these rural short span bridges. And while we and others certainly continue to advocate for a greater degree of investment from federal, state, and local government, I think if we pin all of our hopes on the government writing a bigger check, we'll probably be a very disappointed group of people. So the question is, are we going to spend our way out of this problem, or are we also going to save our way out of this problem? And one of the things that we've observed when monitoring, you know, bridge conditions throughout the country and you know civil engineering is there are a lot of pretty compelling concepts that have been developed, that are in practice, and they've provided significant savings and benefit to the local population. But one of the frustrations is, just because a good idea has been demonstrated there doesn't mean that good idea will be demonstrated here. And there often has to be a lot of effort and education and motivation to try to get some of these good ideas and innovative concepts to be more widely practiced. And that's something that I think soybean farmers can play a real critical role in. We're a very grassroots organization, and we have that ability to increase that awareness, to increase that understanding and that motivation of some of these concepts. The slide before you is the organization itself. As you can see, the North Dakota Soybean Council is one of the 13 states that comprise the organization. We're a farmer-funded, farmer-led entity. And so, you know, again, the question is for rural policymakers and stakeholders when it comes to our rural bridges, to what extent are we embracing innovation to stretch the taxpayer dollar further, or is our strategy simply going to be, let's hope for more money from federal, state, and local sources? Again, we certainly want more investment, but we have to find ways to also save our way out of this problem, not just spend our way out of this problem. So what we as an organization did is we assembled a group of 13 bridge engineers and experts from throughout the country, one from each of the 13 Soy Transportation Coalition states. And again, these are states in the Midwest and Plain states, to select 20 innovative concepts for replacing and repairing bridges, 10 for replacing bridges, 10 for repairing bridges, so 20 concepts total. And the bridge engineers and experts selected these concepts. It wasn't me, but I did establish the criteria to make its way onto the list. It had to, number one, provide notable cost savings. And number two, it had to be affirmed or validated by a credible engineering entity, an entity like the Federal Highway Administration, Iowa State University, Purdue University, Transportation Research Board, some kind of credible engineering entity. And then number three, it had to be widely accessible throughout rural America. So we assembled this group, and as you can see, Kelly Bankston from Upper Great Plains was one of our principal analysts and provided some real quality feedback into this ultimate report. And we arrived at these 20 concepts. Again, 10 bridge replacement innovations, 10 bridge repair innovations. I'm not going to go through each one in the interest of time, but I'm just going to highlight a few of them that made its way onto the list, so you can get just kind of a feel for what is contained in this report. One of the concepts that is highlighted in our report, is the use of railroad flat cars for replacing rural short span bridges. And we do a profile of each of these concepts. We talk about what the cost savings will be, and as you can see, with the railroad flat cars, you can have easily a 50 to 60% cost savings. So you're replacing a rural short span bridge for $100,000, $120,000 versus $275,000, $350,000. I don't know of a rural county that wouldn't benefit greatly from having that kind of cost savings. And you're not compromising safety in any way. This is a couple photos of the use of railroad flat cars. One of our principal analysts in the report is a county engineer from Northeast Iowa, former president of the National Association of County Engineers. He has replaced about 30 bridges in his county alone via this method, easily saving taxpayers in his just rural county easily $3 million just by using this concept itself. Again, think of a rural county that would not embrace the opportunity to save that kind of money. Another concept that generated a lot of enthusiasm among the group is the use of vibratory H-piling drivers versus the traditional impact pile driving method, in which you attach this vibratory hammer to an excavator, and instead of having to pound that piling into the ground, which is more costly, more dangerous, takes longer, you're able to use this vibratory hammer and do it much quicker for significantly less money. So as you can see on the slide, the cost to drive 10 piling via this vibratory method, $2,000 versus $25,000 to $40,000. That's, again, just driving 10 piling, significant cost savings. Again, rural counties need to embrace these kind of opportunities. We need to save our way out of this problem and not just spend our way out of this problem. The last concept I'll highlight is the use of buried soil structures. Again, replacing a rural bridge for $75,000 to $95,000 versus $150,000 to $200,000. And again, without compromising safety, widely accessible throughout rural America. Here's a couple photos of the actual concept. And what I like about these concepts is they don't exist on paper. They exist in reality. You can drive to these. You can drive over them. You can visit them. You can talk to actual engineers who have successfully utilized them. So this is not just a hypothetical exercise. We wanted to make sure we were featuring things that have actually successfully been utilized. So to help increase the confidence to employ them in other areas of the country. So moving forward, we look forward to working with all of the variety of states, including North Dakota, and we appreciate this great partnership we have with Upper Great Plains, the LTAP program, and we look forward to continuing to promote this into the future. So thank you for your time.
Well, Mike, and thank you for initiating this project. It was so well said. We need to save our way out of the problem, not spend our way. Definitely we need more funding, like you said, but coming up with options. And so the bridge class that we have absolutely incorporates the efforts that you've put forth here. So thank you very much. It's going to make a difference.
Thank you.
And so let's get another take on this study and bring Kelly back. And Kelly, again, is our our pavement and bridge engineer from Upper Great Plains Transportation Institute and the LTAP team. And Kelly, if you could share a little bit of what you learned and put together in this report.
Okay. Thank you.
And it looks good. I can hear you. Looks good, Kelly. You're ready to roll.
All right. Well, Mike did a great job of kicking off the top 20 soybean or bridge innovation study report, and I had the opportunity to be on the primary panel with Brian Kierlieber and Pat Connor. Brian's a county engineer in Iowa, and Pat's an LTAP leader in Indiana. So the top 20 bridge innovations looks like this. And the primary reason it was put together was due to concerns for funding, of course. And one of the contributing factors was going to be COVID-19, with reduction in vehicle miles traveled, potentially reducing fuel tax revenues by $50 billion. And then that would be added on to an already backlogged amount of $211 billion. So the swan song of transportation has always been lack of funding compared to needs for improving roads and bridges. And this graphic shows the difference in available funds with the green bars on the bottom. That's the gasoline tax collected, the diesel tax collected, and the tax collected on heavy vehicles. And then the outlays of projects actually delivered, with the difference being made up with transfers from the general fund when we look at the federal highway funding picture. So I'll touch base on some of the innovations that are being used in North Dakota already. And one of them is piling encasements. Timber bridges tend to have issues with splits on their piles. And that looks like this. This is a timber abutment. And an innovative repair that's being utilized already in Pembina County of North Dakota is to use culvert bands to shore up the timber piles to prevent them from splitting. Piles that are rotted can be encased in metal culverts and then filled with concrete. Is another innovative concept in the report. This is from Bottineau County in North Dakota. And in Grand Forks County, the bridge on US Highway 2, well known as the Kennedy Bridge, was repaired with new abutment and new pier by using a concept in the innovative bridge report where we can drive piling through existing bridge decks to save time and money. And in Cass County, a township road bridge had a timber deck, and that was replaced with a welded steel deck that was shipped out in 3 panels and placed with a crane and assembled by the Cass County Highway Department crew. Another concept is press brake tub girders, and this concept was developed at West Virginia University by Carl Barth. And Brian Kierlieber, who was one of the primary panel members, obtained a federal highway grant in the amount of $350,000 to build the first bridge of its kind using this design concept at Fairbanks, Iowa. And the top 10 bridge repairs, a lot of mention of working on with the decks, because you want to protect your bridge decks. It's like protecting the roof of your home, prevent it from having leaks. So a lot of the concepts are for sealing decks. And one of the practices is to use a pickup mounted sprayer just to simply apply a deck sealer as shown here. And piling repairs can also be done by splicing in steel in place of rotted timber piles. And timber piers can be completely encased and formed up and filled with concrete to fortify that pier. And the same goes with using steel. And concrete piles also can have issues, and they can be encased in metal culvert bands and filled with concrete as well. Bridge safety inspection is important, and if you've been paying any attention to the news in the last month, this bridge near Memphis, Tennessee on Interstate 40 is closed to traffic because this crack was discovered during inspection, and there's 40,000 vehicles per day being detoured currently onto I-55. So use the top 20 bridge innovations list and be safe out there. Call me if you have any questions. Thank you.
Well, Kelly, nice job sharing some of the work that you and the others from the area put into helping us summarize and helping us provide a concise document for options for repair. And I just love working with our friends at the local township counties across the state, and to see the innovative ways that they are doing the maintenance and work like that. So exciting, so exciting. So thank you for being part of that, Kelly.
You bet.
And so now we've heard about dust control, biodiesel, and how soybeans are saving bridges and making our roads more passable for the bottom line of our farms and industry. But what does it mean to the person in the field? Jenna, can you introduce our next speaker?
I would be happy to. Thanks, Dale. I just want to say good morning to everyone, and thanks so much for joining us today. I know we're a little over on time, so thanks for hanging with us. I'd like to introduce the next speaker here, and that's Chris Brosart. Chris is Vice Chairman of the North Dakota Soybean Council, representing District 11 along the Canadian border. He farms near Wolford, North Dakota with his family. He also serves as Vice Chairman of the Soy Transportation Coalition, which is where Mike Steenhoek, who you all just heard from, is here from. So with that, I will let Chris take over.
Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Chris Brosart, a farmer from Wolford, North Dakota. I'm the District 11 representative for the North Dakota Soybean Council. Today, we would just really love to visit with you guys about one of the new products that we've been working on, and give you a little bit of background there. The National Soy Checkoff Research, in collaboration with the North Dakota Soybean Council, invested in the soy bio-based dust suppressant that will drive soy demand, offer a sustainable alternative, improve air quality, and reduce dust-related health and safety risks in communities nationwide. Personally, we're really excited to give this product a try on our farm. We live right alongside a main farm-to-market county road. There's always a lot of dust flying in the yard. Not only gets to be a little tough sometimes for the kids around the yard, but we also really noticed it in a lot of our cold storage buildings, just the dust on the machinery. Hopefully to help keep everything a lot cleaner and neater around the yard. A little background here: the soybean checkoff is driven by farmer investments on behalf of North Dakota soybean farmers. In North Dakota, 1% of the market value of each bushel of soybeans sold enters the checkoff. Of this, half stays in the state with the North Dakota Soybean Council and half goes to the United Soybean Board. The North Dakota Soybean Council funded a research proposal in 2015 when Jim Barr came to us with an idea. North Dakota Soybean Council invested a total of $249,684 of North Dakota soybean checkoff dollars from 2016 to 2019. At that point, Jim received funding from the United Soybean Board to scale up the project and make it is what it is today. One tote of Epic EL uses approximately 190 bushels of soybeans. This is a great example of the investment of the North Dakota soybean checkoff coming full circle to benefit all of the farmers. We look forward to this long-term investment opportunity continuing to benefit both farmers and consumers of the product.
Wow, that sounds nice. So Chris, the vice chair for the North Dakota Soybean Council, Jenna, and Jenna is the director of market development with the North Dakota Soybean Council. I forgot to mention that. Thank you. And boy, your partner in crime of one of several, Stephanie Sinner, sure missed that she's not able to. She's watching in the background, but she has been such a strong advocate. Stephanie is the executive director for the North Dakota Soybean Council. Stephanie, thanks for getting this set up. You know, before we close out, I would like to have each of our presenters, if we could do a round robin and closing comments. So if we could start with you, Jim, any closing comments for our audience?
I would say if you are a decision maker in your county and you're curious on how this material might perform, please reach out to Todd and and try a small section and test it out on your gravel, and try some different rates, and you'll be able to see what works best for you. And keeping in mind for sensitive areas, the chlorides are going to be cheaper, of course, but they can't be used everywhere. So we feel like this would be a good product for areas where you have water sensitivity and other issues.
Well said, Jim. You're an exceptional researcher. Thank you for being part of this, and thank you for all you do. And next up, Kelly.
Okay, just want to say thank you for this opportunity, and I've enjoyed meeting everybody I've been able to work with on these projects, including the dust control and the top 20 bridge innovations. Both of those are, excuse me, good news for North Dakota, really, and I hope that people take advantage of these opportunities.
Thank you, Kelly, and thanks for your work in both areas. If you're interested in learning more, Kelly will be part of our bridge class on June 22nd and 24th, and again, everybody's welcome and encouraged to attend. And Todd, your closing remarks.
Thank you, Dale, and thank you again to everybody, NDSU, Jim, the North Dakota Soy Council, the U.S. Soy Board, for all the energy and effort put forth to bring this truly innovative soy product to market and giving us the opportunity to commercialize it. Reiterate what Jim said. This right now may not be the product to buy, many truckloads of, but please consider it for your for these sensitive areas and for those areas that are tough maintenance areas. Consider doing a small section and test it out and see for yourself. Thanks again for joining us.
Oh, Todd, and so remarkable how you've gotten a training to learn gravel and learn how this can work in the test section. You're such a great advocate to do things right. So thank you. Kudos. Hats off to you. Scott, your comments.
Thanks, Dale. I think that the topics on the webinar today and the speakers that you've got and brought together are a testament to the diverse solutions that today's farmers bring to the economy, particularly the soybean industry. It's not just feeding the population anymore. It's providing solutions to transportation and health and power and energy. And it really is amazing to see all of the innovations at work today.
Wow. Providing the solutions. I absolutely love it. Well said, Scott. Oh, next up, Nathan, our data guy.
Well, again, thank you, Dale, and everybody else for having us today. It's been a great 2-year journey for us, meeting all the neat, talented folks around in the biodiesel industry. There's some very passionate people in the biodiesel industry, and we feel very privileged here to be a part of it. And again, it's been an honor for us to be a part of it and to share our experience.
Oh, well said. Thank you. And then our experts on helping with biodiesel, Lisa.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity to take part in this webinar today. I just encourage all fleets to consider biodiesel. As has been pointed out, it is a no cost, it's low commitment to give it a try. And for farmers, I encourage you to give it a try. It is your fuel. You grow the soybeans that go into making it. When I was a kid, my dad worked for General Mills, and we ate Cheerios. And when I'd go to the grocery store and I wanted Frosted Flakes, my dad's like, nope, Cheerios pays the bills. So use biodiesel.
Oh, I love it. That's so spot on. Yeah, helping North Dakota grow stronger. Love it. Mike, awesome project, one of many. If you could close us out.
Yeah, one of the things I appreciate about farmers and others who reside in rural America is when confronted with a challenge, the default position is not just to get out their credit card and ask how can they spend money to solve the problem. They challenge themselves to be creative and to make current dollars stretch further and solve the problem that way. And if that mentality works so well on the farm and elsewhere in rural America, it clearly can work when it comes to managing and improving our bridge inventory. So I appreciate, the partnership with Upper Great Plains, with the LTAP program, and in promoting some of these innovative concepts to allow our rural bridges to be better maintained and to make that taxpayer dollar stretch further.
Wow, great project. One of many. We'll be working with you on others. Thank you, Mike. You know, on behalf of Dustin in the background running the event, Kelly, instrumental in our bridge and pavement across the state, and myself, and the entire Upper Great Plains transportation team and North Dakota LTAP. I want to say a great big thank you to everybody in the audience, and a great big thank you to our presenters. You're fantastic subject matter experts, and a great big thank you to you, Jenna, and the North Dakota Soybean Council. So thank you on behalf of our team. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to you, Jenna, to provide closing comments and take us home. Thank you.
Sure will do, Dale. You guys did so well. I feel like we could have just ended it there and been fine. But I just want to thank everyone again for joining us this morning and taking part in this webinar. We're so happy that you'd had the interest in this to see these soy innovations. So I want to thank everyone of our partners who made the webinar possible. I know we're sending a lot of thank yous out, but our partners at Upper Great Plains Transportation LTAP for hosting this event and all of their expertise. And then just each of the opportunities highlighted here today is a direct result of the foresight of North Dakota soybean farmers that have invested their checkoff into research, partnerships, and programs to help support not only our state and our farmers, but their local communities and businesses. So with that, I hope you found a resource or two today that you want to learn more about. And along those lines, I would encourage you to check out the Q&A function. We do have an online form you can fill out just to say, hey, I want a little more information on that dust suppressant or biodiesel, and we'll be sure to follow up with you and get you in touch with the people you need to be in touch with. So with that, we hope to see many of these options and opportunities implemented around the state to help support and grow North Dakota communities. And on behalf of all of our partners today and the North Dakota soybean farmers, I want to thank you again for participating and hope that you have a great week ahead. Thanks all.